So, Jake, I'm glad you took the time to talk to Cultural Attaché. And before we get started talking about your new album, I want to ask you about Eddie Kamei, who had a famous album in 1962 called The Heart of the Ukulele. And I'm wondering, what is the heart of the instrument you play from your perspective?
Oh wow. Yeah. So he was one of my heroes. His last name is actually it's pronounced Kamai, but Eddie Kamai was he was the first ukulele virtuoso. And I remember that record because he played like Granada, and he incorporated a lot of incredible right hand techniques, and just really did things with the ukulele that people never thought was possible, up until him. But anyways, so for me, I guess the heart of the ukulele is really, um, it's just its simplicity. I think I tell people that it's, for me, what I love about the ukulele is it's such a humble instrument, and what you see is what you get. They're four strings, two octaves, and there's something about the sound. When I hear it, it takes me back to the islands. It makes me feel young, makes me feel alive, and just makes me smile. So I think, yeah, it reminds us that, I don't know, in life sometimes you really have to just, not let things get too complicated.
Well, it's interesting that you said it makes you feel young. I guess I should say at this point, a belated happy birthday since yesterday was your birthday.
Oh yeah, thank you. Thanks, Greg. Appreciate that.
Interesting how birthdays get us to start thinking about what feels young and what makes us feel like, how much time has passed.
Yeah. Oh.
Your new album was 4 years in the making. And I would assume any artist who's putting together something like this, where you collaborate with a lot of people, you probably had a wish list a mile long. So
Oh yeah.
I'm wondering, how big a list did you have? And, are there artists that you really wanted to collaborate with who just weren't available, or just for some reason couldn't do it?
Yeah, there was well, first of all, I have to say that when I first started talking about this project with my manager Van, um, we sat down. It's like, we should put together like a duets record, or um, like a what do you call, collaborations record, because you've never done one before. And I was like, and so he started um, throwing out some names, and and of course I said, oh man, that would be awesome. But in the back of my head, I was like, this is never going to happen. Why are these artists all gonna take the time to do this, with me? And so I honestly did not think this would happen. And the catalyst for it was, so Ray Benson, who's been a good friend over the years and has been so supportive, with things I've been doing. He agreed to co-produce this project with me. And the first phone call he made was to Willie Nelson. And 2 months later, we were in the studio with Willie Nelson recording Stardust. So once we did that, it just gave the project credibility. It gave the project momentum. And after that, things just kind of started, rolling its way down the hill. And almost 4 years later, we're about ready to release this record. And we were actually supposed to release this record last year in October, but because of, well, obviously with everything, we decided to hold off. But it was great because we could spend a little bit more time in the mixing and mastering process of it. And yeah, I'm just really stoked. And we also got to add a few tracks too, which wasn't bad. So that's why we have 16 tracks now, which I think originally was just going to be 14, I think, if I'm not mistaken.
When you get someone like Willie Nelson or any of the artists who are on the album, did you select the songs, or did they come to you with the songs?
Yeah, I had them select the songs because, I just wanted to make it as comfortable for everyone as possible. There were a few exceptions, like when I talked with Sonny Landreth and with Billy Strings, they basically just said, "Oh yeah, let's just come up with something in the studio. We'll write something together." And so I was like, "Oh man, That's awesome. You know, which we did. We just got into the studio and we started just working out something and got an idea, um, and took the time to do that, which is great because you know you don't. That's a rare thing nowadays, right? For you to do that. So I'm glad we had that opportunity. And then also yeah, with everyone else, it was something that they had already recorded before or something that they were familiar with and maybe playing live, like all the Beatles songs, you know. I remember, so Ziggy Marley, he said, um, he mentioned All You Need Is Love because he would do that in his live shows. And John Anderson, he loves playing the ukulele. So he sent me a little strumming thing of like a little video of him strumming a little bit of A Day in the Life and singing it. And I was like, oh man, yeah, that would be awesome. So, and then let's see, what else was there? So I mean, everything else, right? It's either their classic tunes or it's something that they were very familiar with. There was the other one was Bette Midler. When we were talking, she asked, because I said, oh, what would you want to do? And we had recorded a few things in the past. I mean, not recorded, but we've performed a few things in the past together. Um, Usually we have a version of In My Life, you know, that we got to play for the Queen of England, you know, back in 2010. But then we were talking and I mentioned to her, oh, my mom's going to be so excited that I'm recording with you because you're not only are you her favorite singer, but The Rose is her favorite song. And she looks at me and she's like, well, then we have to sing The Rose. So I said, you would do that? And she said, of course. So yeah, so she and we ended up doing that. And oh, my mom was so excited.
How many of the people involved were people you had previously worked with? I mean, I know that you had performed for the Queen with Bette
Mhm.
Midler. You know, how many other artists did you have pre-existing relationships with, and how many of them are you know, now new collaborators and potentially new friends?
Yeah, I mean, almost all of them we've collaborated together, except for John Anderson. This was the first time we've worked together. Billy Strings and Moon Taxi. Oh, and Willie Nelson. So yeah, so those four, that was, you know, but everyone else we had worked together, either recorded together or played together somewhere. So um, yeah, so it was it was really nice to just reconnect with everyone and to actually get to see their process in the studio. You know, that was really great. And that, well, actually, Kenny Loggins, we had actually performed together once for a casual thing in Hawaii, and then that's right. And then we also had a writing session in Hawaii together once, but that was the first time that we actually recorded together. So that was cool.
It's interesting. One of my favorite collaborations on the album is actually with Lucas Nelson.
Oh yes,
Which
Lucas Nelson is an insane musician. He is so talented. I mean, just I never that yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, he's another one that I've never collaborated with before. The first time we met was actually in the studio. Everything he played, and I'm not even exaggerating, Craig. Every take he did was perfect. And he, you know, because we did everything live. The song Find Yourself, we did it 3 times, and the only reason we had to do it 3 times is because I kept making a mistake. But all 3 times that he recorded it was perfect, and we wanted to get a live take. We didn't want to edit or or try to cut it up and stuff. So yeah, so the third take is the one that we ended up keeping. But he was so fast because everything he did was perfect. So he was like, "Oh, you want to try another song?" So we actually ended up recording 4 songs. And so we actually have 3 other songs on a hard drive that we recorded. But yeah, he is a brilliant musician. It was such an honor to work with him, and just to his precision, his execution, his feel. Oh my goodness, yeah. So that was a really special experience for me.
I can only imagine.
Yeah.
back to what I asked you a little bit earlier, were there people you wanted that just it didn't work out for any number of reasons?
Um, well, there was there was the track with Lyle Lovett. We actually recorded in Austin, but something, yeah, but the ukulele track just needed to be redone, and we weren't able to reschedule another recording date. So unfortunately, because that was one that was supposed to be on this record as well. So unfortunately, that one still needs to be finished up. So hopefully we'll have a part two or a volume two, and we will include that, because I tell you, Lyle Love, it's one of my favorites. And man, to just like for me, I mean, I feel fulfilled because I actually got to have that experience with him in the studio. So I'm bummed it's not on the record, but I still, it was such a special memory for me, and just so humbling. And because he is just an incredible musician and guitar player and writer, and just all around. So I was so nervous being in the studio with him, to be honest.
Well, not that you asked for suggestions for the second album, but I would love to see you perform with Randy Newman.
Oh, wow. That would be awesome. Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah. Okay.
So
That would
when
be
you
great.
yeah
I
when
mean,
you
of course, I would, I would have died to do something with, Paul McCartney or Ringo or something, but yeah, I'll keep dreaming. Maybe one of these days it'll happen.
well, I mean, isn't your career basically a whole dream? I mean, do you
Yeah.
if you look back at when you started and thought, you never thought you'd have conversations that, oh, I just recorded with Bette Midler or Willie Nelson or any of the
Oh
other
yeah,
people. I mean,
never.
those are not thoughts you had.
Never in my wildest dreams, so yeah, so you're right. I mean, this is all just a dream come true. I mean, even to be like, to be traveling and being a touring musician now, it's like, I mean, it's just crazy, to look at all the opportunities and experiences that the ukulele has brought into my life. I'm so grateful, and especially, after everything we've gone through, and really still kind of going through, I'm just so grateful for this opportunity to be able to play again, and to connect, with a live audience, and to share this passion, because I believe music and the arts is so important. And although we can't really explain it and measure it, I feel like it brings so much positivity right into our community. And so I'm glad that live music is coming back. And I think, and I can feel it, like when we're playing now, we're back on the road again, and playing shows. And you can tell, like, I mean, not only for us on stage, but in the audience, and not just the performers in the audience, but the crew members, the stage crew, and the house managers, and the ushers, the volunteers, the people in the box office. They are so grateful to be, to be having music back in the community. And it's just great, because you can just tell, it's like, whatever we used to take for granted before, we don't take for granted anymore. And there's a whole different level of appreciation and love, for what we get to do. And yeah, so again, just super grateful.
Now, I haven't followed all of your career. I've followed a considerable amount of it, and it seems to me that what you're doing with this album is allowing you to go back to the early days when you were participating in things like Brown Bags to Stardom, where you would try to recess yourself into the background and just accompany other singers. Do you feel like somehow this is sort of a bookend to that experience?
Yeah, I mean, this was, for me, what I love about it is because for me, I'm a fan of the ukulele first. I mean, that's always, that's always going to be first. Just I love the instrument. And never in my wildest dreams did I ever think I would hear an ukulele with Warren Haynes, or an ukulele, with Sonny Landreth. I mean, because so to hear the ukulele on this record mixed in with not just these different genres of music, but these iconic artists who represent, their respective genre. Um, it's just, I don't know, it's so fulfilling and magical. Like, I mean, it doesn't have to be me playing the ukulele. Just hearing the ukulele with them, is really something amazing. I mean, I never thought the ukulele with electric slide guitar with Sonny Landreth, like the greatest, I mean, everything he plays is just is perfection. And then when I got to trade leads with Warren Haynes, man, that was talk about being scared, man. but but yeah, I'm really thrilled. I mean, John Anderson, I mean, I used to listen to all his records growing up. His voice is so iconic, and I never ever thought I would hear that voice paired with an ukulele before. So yeah, so this is, to me, like, it was just such an honor, and I'm so grateful to all these artists who gave their time, because it really, I mean, for me, I just love hearing what they do, um, alongside of the ukulele, the sound of the ukulele, which is my first love. So yeah.
You have all these different collaborators, and there are at least three other collaborators who play your instrument that I think could potentially be on a project with you, because you posted about them in 2014 on Facebook, and that was Bill Gates, Warren Buffett, and Francis Coppola. And you said, it blows my mind that these people who have everything in the world they could want have picked up the ukulele and found a little bit of joy. I understand why it blows your mind, but why do you think they find joy in the instrument you play?
Again, I maybe, I mean, I don't know. I can't even imagine what it's like to walk in their shoes, but I have to imagine that that like I said earlier, the ukulele just kind of the sound of it, or the energy of it, I don't know what it is, but it just kind of brings you back to, it just grounds you, and just brings you back to simplicity, I think, in a lot of ways. But I don't know, it's hard to explain. You just have to pick one up and play a chord, and as long as it's in tune, you play a chord, and it's just like, because that's what drew me to it. It was when my mom first put it in my hands and I played my first chord, I was like, oh wow, this is. And then it's not just, it wasn't just so much that, the way it sounded and all that, but also the instant gratification of, hey, I can do it. I'm playing a chord, and I can actually play a song. That it's one of the only stringed instruments that I know, except for probably like a strum stick or something, where you can just use one finger and you can play full chords, right? Fully voiced chords. So when I teach kids, I kind of teach them how I learned, just with one finger first, where you just take your index finger, put it in the bottom left-hand corner, and then strum that. And then now just move it up to the next string and then strum that. And that's your C7 and your F chord, and it's, so that's your that's your 1-5 progression, which, with that you can play hundreds, I mean, literally hundreds of songs. So.
Well, the nice thing about a lot of pop and rock and roll songs is basically you only need 3 chords.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, and while that sounds simple, I would assume it takes a lot of work to make the ukulele sound as simple and graceful as you do.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I mean that, and that's the thing, it's like you get that instant gratification because you can play it right away, but then you can also spend your entire life, mastering that, trying to master the instrument. Um, and that's what I love about it. I mean, every time I have an opportunity to really be present with the instrument, and to just play, which is almost every day, right? I feel so grateful that I'm able to have that time. I discover new things about it, and it's exciting. And every time you discover something new, it opens up. It's like finding like an unopened box of stuff, and you open up, you're like, wow, what is this? And you start digging through and you're like, oh my gosh. And you start, it's you just find a whole, it's just like a treasure box of gems and goodies. Um, and I guess, and the feeling, because it's one of those things where at a certain point you realize, you know what, I'm never going to master this instrument, and I'm never going to learn everything I want to learn, right? I'm always going to feel like, oh man, I wish I could do this, or I wish I could do that, or I'm always going to feel like there's just so much more to learn. So I at one point, you just have to embrace that, and then you just have to enjoy the process. And what I tell people, it's like reading it's like reading a great book that goes on forever, or like your favorite TV show, and the episodes never end, So it's like, and you always look forward to that next episode. And it's the same thing with the ukulele. I always look forward to that next moment where I discover that new thing that just kind of like, oh, it gets so exciting.
You've done such a wide array of music that you've selected to play, from traditional to rock and pop and things like that. Is there music or a style of music that intimidates you that you would still like to tackle?
Oh yeah, I mean, every like, of course, like classical music, is intimidating, but at the same time, the blues is intimidating because, I mean, when when you listen to, oh man, like when you listen to any great blues player, right? It's like you just cringe, like you don't even want to play your instrument. You don't even want to take it out of its case because you're like, well, I'm just not worthy. So I think every genre of music is scary. And when you hear someone who has been doing it their entire lives, that's really something, man. I mean, traditional Hawaiian music too, some people have this stereotype that traditional Hawaiian music is just very simple. It's not. There's a swing to it, and there's a feel, and a way that the way that they play. And when you play with those old timers, if you didn't grow up playing that music, you stick out like a sore thumb. So it is scary. I think anytime you try to do anything of authenticity, or you try to do it honestly, and in a very pure sense, it's always going to be scary because you have to be vulnerable, and and um and it shows. If you're trying to put up a front or something, it shows, it comes out in your playing. So but yeah, but my approach to the ukulele and arranging music is, I always think the first thing I do when I think of a song, even if it's a really complex classical piece, or or a or a very complex jazz piece, or any song, right? I think I try to find a single line, a single melodic line that'll take me from the beginning to the end of the song. Just a single line, no chords yet or anything, just one single line. So, like for example, if I'm arranging Bohemian Rhapsody, right, I'm gonna sing one line and I'm gonna hum it. Right, all the way to the end. Then that way, if I can sing that one line and find that single line that connects the entire song and is recognizable, once I get that, then I know I can play that on the ukulele, right? Because it's just one single line. Then once I can play that single line, then I add the other three strings and I say, okay, now what can I do with the other three strings to add the harmonic content, to add some support or maybe a counter melody or anything else. But the most important thing is staying focused on that one melodic line. And then you can incorporate rhythm or whatever other tools you want to use to the arrangement. And when you approach any song that way, then everything, it doesn't matter the genre. Well, I shouldn't say it doesn't matter the genre, because I'm sure there are some genres of music out there that I'm not aware of that maybe you can't really approach that way. But once you approach it that way, then everything, then it all just becomes music, right? And it's all just then it's all one sound that just connects you, and then everything else is extra, right? It's the icing on the cake, or the little seasoning, or that you add to cooking. But that's what I always try to focus on, and it helps me to at least start, or gives me somewhere to start.
Well, it starts at the very beginning. There's a reason that song lyric exists. Speaking of the beginning, you gained serious attention in 1998, which means you've been at this for essentially half of your life, in a real public way. So I'm wondering, that was 22 plus years ago, which you've been defined by the music and by the music you make for the most part. So I'm wondering how you would like the next 22 plus years to be defined, how you would like to be defined.
Oh man. I don't know. I mean, for me, the greatest joy is well, of course, is playing, because I feel that joy when I'm performing. Um, and I guess the fulfillment is when I can share that joy with people around me, right? And give people that a sense of that same experience that I'm having internally. If I can share that with other people, then that makes me even happier. So, and I think that's what I love doing, and it's not just, and I find that my personality is kind of like that. So it's not just when I'm playing the ukulele, but like even if I'm at a family party, like I'm always asking my uncles and aunties, oh, you guys want something to drink? Or it's like you always want to be. It's like that act of service, right? You always want to be serving, or doing something. Like if you can do something that makes someone else's life a little better and makes them happy, you can make someone smile or feel better or give them joy in any way. I don't know. I think that's what I really love. And that's why I get that same feeling when I'm on stage playing music, because when I'm on stage, I feel so present, and so you're not distracted by anything. I can be so in the moment, and you feel like other people can be in the moment with you, and when you can share that together, it just makes for a greater experience than um than you can really achieve by yourself. So and I think that's why I love performing, for a live audience, because that's the only way you can get that collaborative experience, and that energy, um, and yeah, just being present with other people maybe is the key. Being in the moment with others. I think that's where the magic is.